Welcome back everybody, Johnny B here with devslopes.com. In this lesson, we are going to set up a local hosting environment, all right? Now, like I already said, once you have it all set up and you're chatting in your app, it's going to be like you're in a room all by yourself, just talking to yourself. But knowing how to set up local instances is extremely important, since you should never do code changes on live servers. You want to always develop and test things out locally first, okay? That being said, if you already got the API code hosted using one of the two prior methods in the previous video, this lesson is completely optional. You do not have to have it locally hosted for the rest of the course. We will touch on it a couple more times and do a few things, but you don't have to have it. I do recommend that you stick around though, because we're going to do some cool stuff and it's a great skill to know. All right, moving on. So since the API is built on Node.js and MongoDB, we are going to need to download these libraries. Like I said earlier, this isn't a course on API dev, so I'm going to show you how to use the tools, but we may not go into too much of the details, all right? So I'm going to pull up a browser here, and we are going to just Google, I was going to Google Node.js, but it took me right to it, nodejs.org. And all we need to do is download, and you want the LTS version. This is the recommended for most users. LTS stands for long-term support. So I'm going to click on that, and that's just going to download a package. And once that's done, I'm just going to open that up and go through the install process. So I'm going to say continue, agree, install, put in your admin password, and close. And you can go ahead and move that installer to the trash. All right, easy. Next up, we need to get MongoDB. So I'm going to open up a new tab and Google MongoDB. And come down here to MongoDB for Giant Ideas. And we want to go to download. And we have here instructions for installing with Homebrew. So we're going to go ahead and do that with Homebrew. Okay, so we're going to use Homebrew. So let's see here. We can, let's see here. I want to come down here. Install MongoDB Community Edition with Homebrew. So we can click here to go to Homebrew. And to install it, you just got to copy this URL. Copy it and go to open up a terminal and just paste it. I already have it installed, but it'll just update it. And if you press return to continue, I'm gonna bump up our font size here and put in my password. And that'll install. That'll take a few minutes. All right, so that's installed. And let's go back to our instructions. So it says to do a brew update. Already up to date since I just installed it. And then we just need to say brew install MongoDB. Brew install MongoDB. And since I already had it installed, then it just tells me that. All right, so that's how you'll go about installing Node.js and MongoDB. So those are the two main tools that we are, or libraries that we're going to need. And the Node handles, the Node.js is used for handling the API code, and the MongoDB is used for the database stuff. Okay. All right. So now that we got those two done, we're going to download a couple of tools that will help us in working with the API code. And the first one is called Postman. So you can just Google that, and then find right here, supercharge your API workflow. Okay, so you can download the Postman app. Just click on macOS, and it'll start downloading for you. So that's downloading. I already have it installed, so I'm just going to actually cancel that download. But once you have it downloaded, go ahead and open it up. Okay, so what Postman does, it's a really cool app that lets you do web requests using all of the important methods like get, post, put, all that kind of stuff. You can have headers, you can have body. And so we're going to be using this a little bit in the local hosting environment to make sure things are working right. Okay, so that's a really great tool. And I have a collection. So these are called collections, different types of API requests. So I'm actually going to show you how to import the one that I have for you guys. So I'm going to delete my collection, and then inside of your assets folder, let's see here, desktop. Okay, so inside of your assets folder, you have a file called Mac Chat API collection. Okay, so in Postman, in Postman, go to import here, and then you can either drag that file in or choose files. Okay, so I'm going to say desktop, assets, and the one we want is right here, Mac Chat API collection. Okay, there we go. And that just re-imports those requests that I had. And so what we can do is here, for instance, this one here says auth register user. It's a post request. It has already the local host information, URL, and the body and the header. And so once we have the local instance up and running, all I have to do is press send, and it'll actually register a new user. And then you can auth in that user, you can add a user, you can do pretty much anything that the API is capable of doing right here from Postman. You can run a request to find all the users, update user. So it's a really great tool for working in local environments. Okay, or even live APIs. Pretty much anything that you need to do web requests for, and it's really helpful because you can do all of that right here, and you can see the results. You don't have to set up all of the client-side information. You don't have to code an Alamo file request, get the response, parse the JSON, all that kind of stuff. You can get it all right here in Postman. All right, so the next program tool that we're going to use is one called RoboMongo. You can get that at robomongo.org, and just download that app. Okay, and I have that also on my computer already. So when you open it up, you'll get this right here, MongoDB connections, and I just named mine for the 27017 is the one that you want, and you can edit it, change the name of it, but make sure that it's localhost and 27017. Okay, so I'm going to save that and say connect. But if you don't have Mongo up and running, then nothing will happen. So go ahead and quit that and just hang on for the next step here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and quit this browser window. So we have our 4 tools that we did for this lesson: Node.js, MongoDB, Postman, and RoboMongo. So we got this superhero team of apps, and now we need them to all work together to actually do something. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to open up terminal again, and I'm going to clean my terminal, Command K. I'm going to cd to the desktop, cd into our Mac Chat API, and then I'm going to say atom dot to open atom for this project. I'm going to bring that over here. And so in the previous lessons, we set up the port and Mongo URL, and that's for using the web hosted servers. But for local hosting, I'm just going to comment those 2 lines out, and we already have it set up here. So I'm going to uncomment these 2 lines. So now we are going to be listening on our local port of 3005. And our Mongo URL is our localhost 27017 chat API. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and then come back into terminal. And to get npm, or to get the API code running with Node, when you're CD'd into the Mac Chat API, you want to say npm install and that's going to install the node packages that are required for this API to function. And I already did that, so that's why it's saying no repository field. Then you're going to do npm. Well, first we need to get Mongo running. So you can have multiple tabs open in terminal. So if you say Command T, that'll open up another terminal tab. And so here we're going to just say Mongo D, and this gets the Mongo daemon up and running. And you can see here that it says waiting for connections on port 27017. So MongoDB is up and running. So now back in our MacChat API directory, we can now say npm run dev, and that will fire up the API code on Node. All right, there we go. So it says started on port 3005, just as we expect. The MongoDB URL you see right here is the same as what we have in our API code, and database connection is ready. So this is really cool stuff, guys. We got our locally hosted API code running, working with MongoDB, and it's just waiting for us to do some work. So I'm going to open Postman back up, and I'm going to put you over here on the left. I'm going to open up RoboMongo, and I'm going to say connect, and this time it should connect, and there we have a database for Chat API. So I'm going to put you over here on the right. And now here in Postman, actually, maybe I don't want this quite like that. Okay, so in our MacChat API collection, I'm going to use register user. And this is all set up already. So localhost, v1 account register. And so this is the API function to register a user. So it looks like we have a few steps here. First, right here it says 1, we're going to register a user. 2, we are going to log in the user. And 3, we are going to create a user. Okay, so the first step is to register a user. And let's see here. Let me open up RoboMongo, Chat API. Let me see if we already have any collections. Okay, so we don't have any collections here. So I'm going to just say press send. You can change the email and password if you want to verify that it's working for you. I'm going to say send. And okay, it looks like a user exists with the given name already. So I'm going to go ahead and just change this to .biz. And press send again. Okay, so it looks like our API code crashed. So to stop the API code, you can say Control C, and that will stop the process. Same thing with MongoD. And so we're just going to fire that back up. We're going to say npm run dev. Okay, and we are back up and running. So I'm going to jump back into Postman, and I changed the email, and I'm going to say send. And here we go. We see that we successfully created a new account. And so what is actually happening here? Let's take a quick detour. I know I said I wasn't going to jump too much into API code, but we can take a couple of minutes here. All right, so we are sending a request to this URL, v1 account register. All right, so let's open up Atom. If your project viewer is not showing, you can use Command Shift / to get that to show. Okay, so I wanted to show you some of the files in here. So if we go to controller account, here you see v1 account register. This is the API code that is called when we run this Postman post. So we are passing 2 parameters, the email and the password, and it creates a new account and then sends back a status saying successfully created new account. And so that's the message that we're seeing here. And so feel free to browse through the API code, kind of familiarize yourself with it a little bit. Yeah, so then the next thing that I wanted to show you was once we do this with Postman, we're actually writing to our local Mongo database. So if we open up RoboMongo and we refresh our Chat API and we click on collections and then click on accounts, you'll see that we have the account that we just created, username j@j.biz. All right, so that is pretty cool. Next up, we can auth a login user. And so we click on auth login user, the body, jj.com, and we send that. And here we should actually get a more information returned. We're going to get the username as well as a token. Okay, so most of the API requests are locked down, which means that no one can access that information unless they are logged in and they have this auth token. All right, so I'm going to copy this auth token, and then we can add a user using that auth token. So I'm going to go over here to add a user, body, or headers, and I'm going to replace that auth token with this valid one that we just generated. Okay, and then in the body, we can change this up. Name, I'm going to say Johnny B. Email is jij.com. Avatar name is dark5, and the avatar color is hexavalue. These two things will make more sense here in a couple of lessons when we're back in Xcode. But I can do this and say send. And there we go. We've created a new user, and it returns this information for us. And if we go back into RoboMongo and we refresh here, so if we right-click on Chat API and say refresh, then we see that we have a new collection here called users. If we click on that, we have the information that we just sent from Postman. So this is some really cool stuff, guys. I hope you're excited about this. I think this is super interesting and cool stuff. I mean, just the options that are open to you as a developer once you know how to create and use backend APIs is huge, you know. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this, and yeah, I think this is about all we're going to cover for right now in this lesson with local hosting. Just to recap, we downloaded Node.js, MongoDB, a couple of helper programs using Postman and RoboMongo. We were running the local instance of the API code using Node, and to do that, you in terminal you'll say npm install, then npm run dev. But first you have to have MongoDB up and running with MongoD. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. In the next lessons, we're going to be jumping back into Xcode and actually implementing the client-side code to communicate with our APIs, all right? So hope you guys are enjoying this, and I'll see you in the next one.